when it comes to performing this part now, so going through the one pop, one push jerk. So with this one, we're not going to move into the split position. We're staying in a squat stance for that push jerk. I'd say it is going to be really important now to get into that more of a front rack position. I still encourage you just to have the fingertips under the bar rather than gripping the bar fully. We'll go into a little bit more individual parts later on in the final stages with what you can do, depending on your anatomy. But I would say for now, what I'd like you to do, go into a front squat similar position. So loop underneath, look up, and then grabbing the bar like that. With these movements, you don't have to come from a rack. Depends on your setup. You might be using blocks for this. If you don't know what that is, that's fine. Don't worry about it. But remember, if you are doing these movements, face the rack and be in a place where you can drop a bar if you need to. I wouldn't want you dropping a bar in a place where you're not allowed to. So when you're here, bar's really sunk into the collarbones, one pop again, dip, pop, and then dip and get under the bar. Catching the bar in a squat position, feet can move out slightly, and then standing up from there. So a comfortable stance, dip, pop, then dip. Catch in this partial squat, and then standing up. From a side point of view, from here, dip down, popping, up, catch, pop. So I'd say the concept here is you're trying to throw the bar with the legs, trying to get as much force from the legs as you can to then get underneath it as it gets heavy. Obviously, don't use the max amount of force with an empty bar. I think that can be a lot of people's undoing with weightlifting is when it's lighter, use less force. As it gets heavier, use more force progressively. If you use too much force and the bar's lighter, you're most likely gonna mistime the movement. You're gonna overdo it. So make sure you're relaxed. Don't be too rigid here. Just practice popping the bar with the legs, then pop and get underneath the bar. We're trying to use the legs as much as we can. And I'll go into what that looks like when you don't use the legs very much in the next part. With the common mistakes now, the biggest common mistake I would probably say is if your dip and drive is straight, as we've talked about, if you're bringing the chest up, head back, that's the main thing that you would have worked on the last few exercises. It's still just being a little bit too rigid with the hands and not trusting yourself. So what I see quite a lot is people get into the position, they're kind of holding onto the bar too tightly. Their pop is more of a arm push. They're like pushing with the arms, and then they're pushing with the arms too much here. What it should be is more of a relaxed hand position, leg drive. Catch the bar, so the legs get the bar off the shoulders. My hands move in the air, and then I catch it, rather than dip and press the bar. You're trying to generate that force to get the bar to leave your body and then get under it and catch the bar. So that's why I moved from a finger position to a full grip, because they're forcing me to use my legs more. So I'd say that's the biggest mistake now, is just gripping onto the bar too much. I'll show you that again. What really you shouldn't do is this, gripping onto the bar, dip, and then that, using the arms too much. You should be more like this, pop, use the legs, pop, get under it, and then standing up from there. It is okay if your feet move out slightly, probably not too much, like not too wide, but from your normal stance out a little bit, I say is okay. Even I would encourage some foot movement. If you're like this and there's no foot movement at all, it's probably not great. It is good to have a little bit of foot movement. Yeah, this is the push jack. I'd say that's the most common mistake, is using the arms too much. And then people just mistaking this for a push press. A lot of the time I'll say, okay, do a push jack, and people will do this. Remember, a push jerk, you need to catch the bar with the knees bent. Push press is dip, drive, everything straight. Push jerk is dip, catch, knees are bent, and then standing up. So that's going to be your main difference there. This should be a really good tool now to work on combining the dip and pop and then into a push jerk, which is a little bit easier to get the hang of. The main goal here is to learn how to drive through the legs and get under the bar so that when you do your split jerk, it's a bit more familiar. After this, we'll go into some of the split stuff and get used to going into your split jerk next.